We're live. There we go.
What's up, everyone? Welcome to the Raiders Weekly. I am Stephen Michaels. I am with Phil Robinson. What's up, Phil?
Man, oh man, do we got a lot to break down. We got a
Oh, we
lot to
got a
break down. But it's week 2. It's only 2 games. We're headed into week 3 with an opportunity to turn our fortune around against the Titans.
yeah, but let me tell you something. The Raiders, they let everyone down last week. You don't blow a 20-0 lead. That was complete nonsense. It was just terrible. Everyone, it was terrible in that game. From the coaching to the playing, I mean, just awful. How do you shut out a team 20-0? And by the way, biggest blown lead in franchise history for your Las Vegas Raiders, Oakland Raiders, LA Raiders, you name it. Franchise history, biggest blown lead ever. Not good.
Ever.
Never.
Ever. And through it all, through that whole thing, your defense once again still only gave up 23 points. Said
Oh, yeah.
on the season, they're responsible for 23 and a half points.
Listen, the defense, well, obviously you shouldn't allow the Cardinals to come back, but I mean, they are also on the field in that second half. It seems like, the offense was just going three and out, three and out, three and out, three and out. They're gassed, especially look at their defensive linemen. These guys weigh 300, 400, you know what I mean? These are big dudes out there, and they're just gassed. And the most embarrassing moment, obviously, was that 2-point conversion where Kyle Murray just ran 89 yards back and forth, held the ball for 20 seconds. Not a single person could go get the guy, and then ends up running into the end zone. I mean, that is just pathetic. That looked like a high school team going up against an NFL team. That's what it looked like. It was pathetic.
Man, it looked more staged than somebody taking a dive in the WWE.
Oh,
I couldn't believe what I was watching. I was like, so he left the pocket, ran back, came back, got somehow the pocket reformed, and he decided he was going to chill in it, then take off running
there.
again, come back, and then go score. And in that time, said our defensive backs held up for 20 seconds of pass coverage, which has got to be an all-time NFL high.
Yeah.
Didn't nobody got anywhere near him to get him on the ground.
They're just awful. I mean, they are just awful. My defense at Ludlow High School could probably have stopped that play. That's how bad it was. I mean, this was just absolutely atrocious. It was just bad. Now the Raiders are 0-2 with a big game coming up against the Tennessee Titans, who are also 0-2, and this game basically, I mean, this is a really important game. This game should probably be the national game because one of these teams' season is like on the brink of being just done. You cannot go 0-3 in the NFL and survive. Not many teams have done that in the history of the NFL. So this is such a big game for both teams. Remember, Tennessee, both teams were playoff teams last season. So, I mean, this is such a big game for both teams. The Raiders cannot afford to go 0-3 in AFC West. In my opinion, the Tennessee Titans, they probably could go 0-3 in their division and still find a way to, be okay. The Raiders cannot do it. They cannot go 0-3. This is a must-win game. If there is any must-win game, everyone always says, well, every game's a must-win game, obviously, but this is truly a must-win game.
It is. You definitely need to get the stench losing off. You need to be able to get back to establishing and learning what winning football is. Because somehow, with all the talent on this team, they're still not playing it. How that is I'm not even going to say that I don't know how it is because I'm well aware of how it is. But it's small things that can be easily overcome by players simply playing better, being more attentive to details, and not being so locked in on one particular thing. Just a complementary football. Your defense can't play 30 minutes of football, go out on the last drive, give up an 18 play drive for a touchdown, a 20-second 2-point conversion, then turn around, have to go back and start overtime on the field, get the offense the ball back, and then somehow lose the game on the sideline. That cannot happen. That cannot happen.
It was a complete disgrace to everyone watching at home. I mean, I just couldn't believe it. When the Raiders were up 20-0, I really thought, finally, the Raiders are going to get this blown out win. They are finally going to blow out a team because we have not got to see that in years. So I was like, this is great. This is fantastic. They're going to blow this team out. And then it was just like another team entered the second half. I don't know. Listen, I'm telling you, I was worried about this going into the season. I was always worried about Josh McDaniels. I don't like these Patriot coordinators. Not one of them have been really successful. They've always sucked. That was my biggest concern coming in. Like, I didn't like the hire at first just because we've seen all these Patriot coordinators try to be a coach in the NFL. They always fail. So, I mean, I was kind of like in the camp where I wanted any head coach, but I didn't really want Josh McDaniels. Like, anyone would have been fine, but I was too nervous about these Patriot coordinators. But then, you get sold on it after a while, thinking, okay, well, obviously this guy knows what he's doing. The Patriots never won a Super Bowl ring without Josh McDaniels. Maybe he will help. And plus, he does have a kind of similar thing to Gruden where he wants Carr to get the ball out of his hands fast. So maybe it wouldn't be that big of an adjustment. Then when you had Davante Adams, I thought it doesn't really matter who the head coach is. With that much talent, this offense should be able to be fine. And week 1, we got to see Davante Adams. You know what I mean? Now, maybe we got to see him a little too much. Carr wasn't really looking at other wide receivers. Week 2, it's like, okay, I'm sorry, Derek Carr, for saying stop focusing on Davante Adams so much, because then he doesn't focus on Davante Adams at all in week 2. I mean, come on. It's like, I don't know. I did complain about it. A lot of people complain about it. It's like Derek Carr heard all the complaints that everyone said and said, okay, fine, I'm not going to throw to Davante Adams. I don't know. What's up with this guy? But this is a big game.
I'm going to tell you the truth. Said he did the same thing last year with Darren Waller when he threw to Darren Waller 15 times in week 1 against the Ravens. Turned around, didn't throw him the ball, and everybody was like, what are you doing? Why are you not throwing the ball to Darren Waller? Darren Waller is open. Davante Adams was open. It wasn't Josh McDaniels' fault that Derek Carr went out there and couldn't hit open receivers when he had the chance, couldn't hit guys for 6 points when all he had to do was lead them. It's not Josh McDaniels' fault that his deep ball flutters and dies like you're playing 3 flies up, that every defender in the National Football League can let the receiver get a step or two on them because they know that the ball is never going to reach them. That's not Josh McDaniels' fault. This guy said, I've seen this story. What are we on? 5, 6 times now? Said there's always the new coach that comes in. They always stock the shelves. They always replenish the talent. And somehow it never, ever seems to work out. It never, ever seems to get done. And we got a guy who's good but not great. And we always end up making excuses for him when the real problem is the fact that he's not doing it. With all this talent, this line gave him 4.1 seconds of pocket time, which was second in the National Football League in week 2. And you mean to tell me that he couldn't find Davante Adams, Darren Waller, Hunter Renfrow, Mac Hollins? He couldn't find any of those guys at all in the second half. He ended up going 7 of 14 for 42 yards and no touchdowns. All they got out of that was 18 plays, a field goal, and nothing.
First of all, and Yeah, I mean the guy is not consistent. But the other thing too is, you know what? When you get a 20-point lead, sometimes you should be running the football. You know what I mean? Like they should have been running the football a lot more, in
Absolutely.
my opinion. And and then Hunter. I mean, no one's really talking about this, but Hunter Renfro really is the one that lost the game. I mean, he fumbled the football. That guy,
He got
if he catches that ball and does not fumble, okay, the Raiders end up kicking a field goal and win the game. Daniel Carlson's not going to miss the field goal. So, I mean, they were right there in field goal range. So, I mean, but Hunter Renfro fumbled back to back. I don't know why he
the
would throw
dude
it to
got
him again.
concussed. He got
Yeah,
concussed.
yeah, that's what I'm saying. I don't know
I'd like
why.
to see you hang on to the football when you get concussed. Give
Listen,
him a break here. There's no Hunter Renfro slander here. The dude got concussed. His brain got turned into jelly.
then he should have took himself out of the game. You know what I mean? Like,
He got
if
concussed on that hit.
I, I think he got concussed before the hit. To be honest, I think he was
On
already
the last
concussed.
one.
Yeah. I mean, how are you? I mean, the guy fumbled the ball and then fumbles again. Clearly, there's a problem. Don't throw to him then. I mean, just don't take. That's on the coaches though too. You know what I mean? I mean, he just fumbled the ball. I would be like, okay, let's not, let's give him a little break here, because Hunter Renfro sometimes does that. You know what I mean? Like he has a case of the fumbles. I mean, he's another weird one. He could look like the best wide receiver in the world, but then sometimes just fumbles the football for no reason. He does that on punts sometimes. You know, I mean, kickoffs. It's weird. But anyways, there's no reason of harping on it. We all know what happened. The Raiders blew a 20-0 lead. They looked like dog shit. They lost this game. They broke all of Raider Nation hearts. Now we're sitting here 0-2 with the biggest game of this season so far. I mean, this is a huge game coming up next in Nashville. Raiders versus the Titans. Can the Raiders slow down Derrick Henry and the Tennessee Titans?
Yeah, they can. They can. This is a much different rushing attack, and Derrick Henry is a different guy. I don't know if you saw him against the Giants where they lit his ass up. He didn't see it coming. The rookie that took Blake Martinez's job came from the side and let that man have it. Knocked him up in the air off his feet about 3 yards sideways. Said, and I was actually talking to Stuart Schweiger last night about this shit, and it was like that's the type of hit that changes the way that players look at you. And Derrick Henry is not getting through the hole as fast as he used to. Teams are catching him before he gets to the line of scrimmage, before he gets ahead of steam, and he ain't been the same guy. Now, that's not to say that he can't be, because lately, every time I say somebody ain't the same guy, they seem to go out there and crush the Raiders. but seeing it from other teams, it's like a dude from dude laid his ass out. That was bad. That was he got.
Yeah. So going into this game real quick, we'll go through the team rankings here. The Raiders, their total offense coming into the game, they're ranked 23rd. The Titans, they're ranked 27th on offense, okay, in total offense. But now here's the problem. And the Raiders, their rushing offense, they're 30th in the NFL. 30th. I mean, that to me, when you have that many running backs, why are you carrying this many running backs if you're going to be ranked 30th in the NFL and running the football? To me, that is a problem. Now, clearly, Josh McDaniels and his staff do not trust this offensive line. That's why they signed, I'm blanking on his name, Herron, I believe his name. What's his name?
Traded for Justin Herron.
Yeah. They're bringing him in. They have all these combos of offensive linemen. They obviously don't trust this offensive line. They got it. They got to start trusting the guys they have, because guess what? There's no magical group that's coming down to save the day. You're gonna ride with these guys. You gotta run with these guys. And to be ranked 30th, the reason why they're ranked 30th is because they hardly run the football.
Doing it, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, you're not.
This week, Josh Jacobs was getting off, but I will say the one thing that I've seen that needs to happen that I wasn't bullish on at first. Between Andre James and Dylan Parham, they need to figure out which one of them is going to play center, which one of them is going to play left guard, because they got to get John Simpson out of there.
Yeah, well, yeah, I mean, he's a problem. I mean, the offensive line obviously is shaky. It's shaky, but like, if Derek Carr gets the ball off his hands fast enough, and we've seen him do it. I mean, if you watch the Cardinals game, he got Matt Collins open. I mean, he's getting him the ball. So we know it can be done. You know what I mean? Like, and I didn't understand why Keelan Cole wasn't playing in a game, by the way. I mean, you would think, listen, here's what I don't understand. If, like Derek Carr said, is the coverages were so great, why not throw someone else in there then? Anyone, any wide receiver. I mean, try something else. You do it at the offensive line, right? They're shuffling the offensive line, man. Well, then shuffle the wide receivers. See, get some fresh blood in there. See if maybe someone else could get open or do something. But
I'm afraid that was Cap though, because if you go back and you watch the tape and you see how that whole thing went down, there were plenty of guys who were getting open.
Oh, I know that, Phil. It's bullshit. He's lying about it. Obviously, if you just watch the game, there's plenty of guys open.
I just got to call Cap on that, just for the record, though, because I've seen and heard this song and dance so many times before, and then everybody is so quick to point a finger at every other thing. They'll blame the goddamn peanut boy in the stands before they blame the guy who's throwing the football all over the place, booting balls and not paying attention to what the fuck he's doing.
Yeah, I mean, listen. I mean, either way, it's got to end now. Okay, we know he always does this. Let's hope these were the 2 games where he's not consistent, and it's just some weird reason he started out. Usually, he doesn't start out like this. Usually, this is
how he ends.
So, yeah. So
I will say that's one thing that truly, truly does concern me, and I say that because I know that at some point during a player's career, they peak. And I think, and year 8, back half of year 8 was his moment. Because after having seen everything that I've seen from him for the last year, looking at the way he throws the ball, launching points, looking at the way the teams are baiting him, I think that he's the ultimate creature of habit and cannot change who he is. And thus far, he has reached his ceiling.
Well, I mean, I hope not, because it won't be a good year for the Raiders. I mean, they will win 2 games this season if he plays like that. What we've seen is
if they run the ball, they can still get at least 8 or 9.
Yeah, I mean, and honestly, I thought about the same thing. Like, he's overthrowing these guys, and he's not even looking like Derek Carr. You know what I mean? Like, he's not even.
Yeah, it's not that he's getting rushed or he's on his ass. This man is standing back there for 4 seconds and not getting it done. That's huge.
Even when he has time to throw the ball, he's not being accurate, which is weird because, like, I mean, he's regressing so much that, like, he doesn't even look like when Derek Carr had bad games. He's looking like a completely different quarterback, like a bad quarterback. And that's got to, like, if that doesn't end, honestly, and I'm not just saying this, Jarrett Stidham's going to be warming up on the sidelines. I mean, the Raiders can't lose this game against the Titans. They cannot lose this game. They cannot go 0-3 in the AFC West. They can't. Luckily, they still get to play we'll see what happens, but they still get to play the Chiefs twice. They still get the Chargers once. They get the Broncos twice. The Broncos are overrated. So the Raiders aren't dead yet. They can save their
No,
season, but they have to win against the Titans, or it's over. In my
it's
opinion.
not over.
I mean, I don't know.
It's not over. That would put him 0-2 in the conference. That'll put him 0-1 against the NFC. So yes, they'll be 0-3, but theoretically they will still have only one division loss. So it won't be over. But I don't. It's now we're starting to play too many scenarios in week 3 and 4. There's too many things that
How
have to
many
happen
0
after that.
teams? How many 0-3 teams go on and be successful?
How many 0-3 teams have ever started a 18-game schedule?
I don't know. What?
It would only be one because they've only had 18
I
games
know.
when you're in the league. So right off the bat, you're in uncharted territory because you have an extra game. So the extra game throws off the mathematics of that.
It's still one. It's only one game, and it's
But
still you're going.
How many times have you seen screw up for go baby 500 for the first 5 weeks and then go win 10 straight? The problem on this team is not that they don't have talent. The problem is that their quarterback is playing like ass cheeks. If he gets his shit, they start scoring points, winning.
But what I'm saying is, how are the Raiders, if this team goes 0-3 with the schedule coming up, don't tell me the season's not. Look who you think they're going to beat the Chiefs if they can't beat the Titans or the Arizona
after the Chiefs. Look at who they have after the Chiefs.
I know it. Listen, if they go 0-3, it's not going to be. I'm telling you right now, it's not looking good.
No, it's not. I'm not going to tell you that it is. I'm not going to tell you that it's looking good. I'm just telling you that what they have coming up after this is one of the toughest parts of their schedule. We spoke on this beforehand that they needed to go. What was it? 3-2 at minimum. They had to be at least 2-3, otherwise they wouldn't have a shot. So right now they're on pace for 3-2 or 2-3. Probably 2-3 is more likely than not, because they get the Titans and the Broncos. Those were probably and the Cardinals were their 3 most winnable games.
Yeah, they got to beat Tennessee. They have to beat Tennessee. At least
they've got problems.
At least if you beat Tennessee, right? I know they can beat the Broncos. If they can beat the Tennessee Titans and they get a win, then they go play Denver. They get a victory. They can get the 2-2. They'll be okay at that point. They can regroup. Then they'll have a huge game against Kansas City. And if they beat Kansas City, then some miracle happens, then we're right back on track. Then things are really looking good for the Raiders. But we can't talk about that unless we see a victory first. So
yes,
this team has to go into Nashville and pull off this win. They have to impose their will on the Tennessee Titans. They have to stop Derrick Henry. They have to get after Ryan Tannehill's ass. They have to sack him. They have to blitz him because this team does not blitz enough, in my opinion. They need to blitz Ryan Tannehill and get him down and make mistakes. He will make mistakes, this guy. He will. For example, anyway, so the Raiders pass offense, they're ranked 11th right now in the NFL, right? Even though it doesn't look like that in film. The Titans, they're 25th. They're not. Ryan Tannehill's not having a good year.
They're not throwing the ball. I told you, I was like, they don't have anybody out there to throw the ball to. They just don't.
Yeah, and AJ Brown, he leaves, and he looks pretty good now. So, anyways, the good, what I see here is the points per game here. Raiders are 13th in points per game. Titans are 28th in the NFL, which means they don't score a lot of points. So maybe the Raiders could, if they got a 20-0 lead, they could probably hold on to that lead against the Tennessee Titans and get a victory. But they got to do the same thing in this game against Tennessee that they did against Arizona. They got to start out hot. They got to start out scoring. But what I would like to see is instead of kicking field goals, like against Arizona, if they don't kick those field goals and they make those touchdowns, the Raiders win that game. Even with Arizona coming back, even with the Raiders playing shitty in the second half, the Raiders still win the game if those field goals are touchdowns. They still end up winning the football game. So that's what I think the Raiders need to do in this game. They need to get in the end zone and get in there early, get a lead, and then in the second half, I don't think Josh McDaniels is going to let this happen again. So they need to be more physical and just pound the rock. You know, when you get a big lead, pound the rock. What I worry about, though, really, is that happening to the Raiders. You know, Derrick Henry, yeah, he got blasted and all this stuff. But we know, just from watching the Raiders, we all know what ends up happening. This player who hasn't looked good all season all of a sudden has a game against, and he plays against the Raiders, and the guy looks phenomenal. So I don't want Derrick Henry to have that game against the Raiders where all of a sudden this guy is just running through them, and then the story on Monday is Derrick Henry is back, and highlights of him, you know, stiff-arming Raider players all over the place, running all over them for 300 yards. I don't want that to be the story. And that's what I worry about with Derrick Henry, is because it happens with the Raiders all the time. I mean, it seems like the Raiders are always that team where that player has that big bounce-back game. So Raiders really got to clamp down Derrick Henry, make Ryan Tannehill beat them. Make Ryan Tannehill beat them.
Yeah, they should definitely be putting 8 in the box. There's nobody on the Titans team that they shouldn't be able, no receiver they shouldn't be able to man up.
Yeah, and listen, by the way, and when I talk about the Raiders running the ball, the reason why I think the Raiders should run the ball is because the Tennessee Titans, they are ranked 31st against the run on defense.
Are they really?
Yes. The Tennessee Titans rush defense 31st in the NFL. So if you are Josh McDaniels, knowing this, you need to run the ball. I mean, you need to run it down their throats. And points per game, by the way, Titans are 30th. They're 30th in the NFL. And then their pass defense, they're ranked 17th. And their total defense, they're ranked 25th. The Raiders are ranked 23rd. Raiders pass defense is ranked 28th, obviously. I mean, those stats went up, obviously, from the second quarter last week. And then, but here's the thing. The third down defense for both teams, by the way, Raiders are ranked 8th, and the Tennessee Titans are ranked 7th. So the Raiders offense, you know, obviously Tennessee, their defense, they step up on third downs. So that's going to be a tough one right there. And then red zone defense, Raiders are 22nd. Tennessee Titans are 17th. So, but, you know, it's only 2 games. So these stats, remember, we're basing this off of 2 games. But either way, you know, when you're 31st after 2 games in a run defense, that shows that 2 teams have ran the ball off you pretty well.
All over you.
Yeah. So, I mean, you got to run off this team. And the Titans, they're looking at the Raiders saying, well, look, I mean, the Raiders have a 28th ranked pass defense. So maybe they're thinking, hey, we can throw off the Raiders. And I hope that's what they think, because I believe if they try doing that, the Raiders can come up with some plays. We've seen Amik Robertson get an interception. I think this is Ryan Tannehill will throw picks. And I believe that if that is their game plan, the Raiders can pull out a victory there. I think their defense will be up for that task. Even if they don't have Trayvon Moehrig, even if they don't have Denzel Perryman, which they probably won't. We'll see that at practice today. But, I mean, I don't think they're going to have Hunter Renfrow unless he clears today. But it's looking like they won't. If Perryman doesn't, I mean, these guys haven't practiced all week. Usually when you're not practicing on Wednesday and Thursday, it's usually a show of bad thing. You know, they're not going to be playing. But we'll see today, you know, especially with the concussion stuff. Today, Hunter Renfrow could pass protocol, you know, and be fine. So we'll see today. But either way, even without those guys, the Raiders should be able to win this game. I mean, they're going up against an 0-2 team, just like them. But at least the Raiders were competitive. Whereas, listen, the Titans, they got their asses beat. You know what I mean? It's not like they even came close. At least the Raiders were close in these games. You know, yeah, they didn't show up in the second half last week, but they had a 20-0 lead and they blew it. They were still close in the ball game, whereas Tennessee Titans were just getting beat up for 2 weeks. The Raiders got to beat up on the Tennessee Titans. They got to play like their season is on the line. That's what they got to do. I mean, because it is what it is. You go 0-3, and then what happens then? You play Denver, and what if they lose? Then they're 0-4. Then we're stacking up L's, and the next thing you know, you're 0-8. You know what I mean? Like, I mean, it happens really fast in the NFL. When you start getting losing streaks, I mean, before you know it, a blink of an eye, it's over for you. So they got to turn this thing around. And this week, right now, remember, the Raiders are in a different type of division. They are in the AFC West, the best division in football. So I say, get a victory in Tennessee, turn around your season. Derek Carr has to be more accurate. Run the football. We'll see what's up with Josh Jacobs with his. I guess he's a little banged up. If he's banged up, then you got to use these other guys. Zamir White. I mean, they have 5. How many running backs do they have? 4.
4.
Yeah,
and they're all active. Yeah, they're all active. You have broke out Amir Abdullah for the screen game. Bolden, I think Bolden was out. He was only
he's hurt. Bolden's hurt, but Josh Jacobs was on the injury report too. So, I mean, we'll see what happens with that. But either way, I
with Josh ankle.
Yeah, he has something to do with his ankle, but he's always hurt. So I'm sure he'll probably end up playing. I mean, that's my guess. He'll end up playing. Take a tramadol shot, and he'll be ready to go. But
yeah, racing that bad boy up.
Oh yeah. But yeah, so just looking at the last 2 games for both of these teams, I really do think the Raiders do stand a chance of winning this game. They should have beaten Arizona. There's no doubt about that. They had that game won. They had them beat. They blew it. Now they're playing against Tennessee Titans team that is wounded just like the Raiders. But like I said, the Raiders at least, they didn't get blown out. They didn't get beat up. They just they lost these games they did it to themselves. The Chargers game, they had a chance to win the game. It was on them. It was on the Raiders. It was on the offense. Derek Carr threw 3 interceptions and still had a chance to win the game. He blew it. Week number 2, they have a 20-0 lead. They blow it. But Raiders still had a chance at the end of the game in overtime to win the football game. And Hunter Renfrow fumbled. So both games are on the Raiders for not winning. The Raiders very well could be 2-0 right now if they executed. If they executed, this team is 2-0. But self-inflicted wounds, they are 0-2 because what they did to themselves. They also got to clean up the penalties. They had way too many penalties last week against Arizona. Dumb ones at stupid times. Stupid penalties. So if they can clean that up, they should be able to beat Tennessee Titans. They should.
I'm in complete agreement with you. I mean, Tennessee is still trying to find themselves. I guess that'd be the simplest way to put it. And Mike Vrabel is all about that bully ball action, and they don't have a team that can bully the Raiders. That's not what is going to work. It's not going to work here. To beat the Raiders, you need to have speed and precision, not bully tactics.
Yeah, and like I said, I mean, if you look at both teams, I mean, the Titans just got beat up, whereas the Raiders pretty much they lost the game themselves. They had a chance to win both of these games. It could be 2-0. They could be, but they lost it themselves. So now they have to put this together, and they have to go to Tennessee win on the road, and get out of there with a victory and get ready for a big time matchup against Denver and get the 2-2. If they can beat Tennessee and then beat Denver, we got a clean slate here. You know what I mean? Like, we're 2-2. And you got an AFC West win after you lost one. You got a clean slate. Basically, you can build off of that. Now, you still have those 2 losses, but still, you start like it's a brand new season, like it's week 1. So if you can beat the Titans and beat the Broncos, you play the Chiefs, you got to act like that's week 1. You got to forget about the 2 games you just won and forget about the 2 games you lost at the beginning of the season and start like, and that will give the Raiders, I think, their best chance of turning around their season. But it all starts this Sunday. If the Raiders can't get it done against the Titans, they're not getting it done against the Chiefs or the Chargers or any of these teams they got coming up. The Broncos, they're not getting it done. And I hate to say it, this early on in the season, I really do truly believe this season is on the line for this team. I really do. I just 0-3 is very hard to climb out of, and especially in the AFC West. I mean, it's not like they play in the AFC North. It's not like they play in some shitty division. They play in the best division in football. So I mean, going 0-3 and climbing out of that with their schedule, I don't know, man. That does not look good. So, I mean, this is a big game. This is a big game for the Silver and Black. They got to come away with a win here. And like I said, I think the best way to do it is, first of all, stacking that box and stopping Derrick Henry, forcing them to throw. But when they throw, put some pressure on them. Put some pressure on Ryan Tannehill. And also watch out for Ryan Tannehill because, this guy, he'll run for first downs too. Ryan Tannehill has no problem running for first downs. So put a spy on the quarterback, for crying out loud, and go out and hit this guy and make him make mistakes because he will. You can rattle Ryan Tannehill, but you gotta stop. You gotta stop the run game first, and then on offense, Derek Carr just has to be effective. I mean, he has to execute. It's really the only way I can spend this. I know, like, this is like some kind of weird thing with Raider fans, the Derek Carr issue, but listen, the facts are facts here. Yeah. I mean, I don't think I think if you took Derek Carr and you had him with you in your room right now and you asked Derek Carr, hey, how do you think you played the last 2 weeks? I bet you he would tell you I played like shit. You know what I mean? Like, I mean, there's no way to spin it anymore. There's no way. This guy has looked like garbage for 2 weeks. He looked fine in the first half. I'll give him that. But even though
I didn't have no problems in the first half at all. We'll keep it. Yeah.
There was that when they settled for a field goal. I believe it was the first. I think it was the second quarter. The first field goal they got. They should not have had to settle for a field goal. Matt Collins was wide open. And yeah, I mean, I'm sorry, not Matt Collins. I think it was Darren Waller. I think it was Darren Waller. Anyways, he was wide open. The commentators even said it on TV. The guy probably would have ran in for a touchdown. Instead, it went incomplete, and they had to kick a field goal. But yeah, that can't happen. That can't happen anymore with this team. Derek Carr has to be right on with his targets. He has to scope the field well. He has to have good pocket awareness. And when listen, yeah, the offensive line is what it is. But you also, when you get sacked, you don't have to fumble the ball either. You know what I mean? The Raiders cannot turn the ball over. This game's going to come down to, I said this last week about the Arizona game. I thought the game would come down to turnovers. It did. Hunter Renfrow turned the ball over, and Arizona won. I think this game might come down to turnovers as well. So the Raiders really got to protect the football here. They really need to protect the football. They need to score early. They need to get that lead, but keep that lead. Stay aggressive, but also be smart about it. You know what I mean? Like, and a lot of people didn't like this when I said, oops, sorry, I went out for a second. A lot of people didn't like this when I said this, but I'm telling you one thing right now. I'm not saying John Gruden's any kind of genius, but if he's coaching that game against Arizona, the Raiders will win because he would have just ran the football every play. He would have just ran the ball every play. That's what he does.
The time off the clock and not giving them all that time that they had to do all that bullshit.
No, because I mean, if you look at it, it went punt, 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 punt. I mean, that's how their possessions went. The Raiders' second half possessions literally went punt, punt, punt. You know what I mean? Like, it was just like, especially in the fourth quarter. I mean, the defense, like I said, they were gassed, and the offense was just going 3 and out. You can't do that. You just can't do that, especially when Kyler Murray was red hot, and the defense had no signs of slowing him down at all. You can't do that. You got to pick up a first down and at least give your defense a breather. And by the way, speaking of defense, why are the Raiders paying Chandler Jones all this money if the guy isn't going to play football? This guy is looking like we got a Warren Sapp 2.0 on our hands. That's what we got. We got a guy who signed with the Raiders for nothing but a paycheck. That's what it looks like right now to Chandler Jones. And I don't care. Listen, I know some of these players get upset. They get their feelings hurt when people talk about them like this. But I don't care. People pay a lot of money for merchandise, tickets. I mean, look how much it costs to go to a Raiders game. They pay all this money, but yet they don't want people to have an opinion. You can't say anything negative. Well, that's why I'm here, because I am the voice of the voiceless for Raider Nation, so I will say it. Chandler Jones, you should give back the money or show up on the field, because right now you absolutely suck. You do nothing out there. They're nothing at all. You should be benched. Malcolm Kuntz should have that opportunity. Put Clinton Farrell out there. Anyone, because you're not doing anything. You're not doing anything. You got Max Crosby, who's like running like every single play. I don't even know how the guy's still alive, because all he's running the guy doesn't stop, but he has to. Because think about it. Imagine if you had no Max Crosby. There would be absolutely no pressure on quarterback. There would be nothing going on, Phil. Nothing. There would be like nothing. Because he's the only one who gets any kind of pressure at all.
Well, I take that back. Bilal Nichols had a sack called back because he grabbed the face mask reaching for his shoulder. But he did sack Kyler Murray in that game.
Well, congrats. I mean, these DTs haven't done shit in 2 weeks. They need to get more pressure. And I want to see Jonathan Abram get on some blitzes as well. You know what I mean? Like, send the guy.
They should be 8 deep in the box at all times in this game, and Abram should be coming hard off the weak side almost every play.
Yeah, and even if he gets blocked, that's okay, because that gives a guy like Max Crosby that opportunity. That takes away a blocker. You know what I mean? Like, it's all about matchups, and you just want to. You send Jonathan Abram in there, and let's say they have a running, but Derrick Henry's out there. He has to block now Abram. That gives Max Crosby a one-on-one matchup, and then he can get after Ryan Tannehill. At least chase him down, and hopefully Ryan Tannehill throws the ball on the run, scared to get hit, throws the ball he really doesn't want to into double coverage. A guy like Nate Hobbs, who's been playing excellent, by the way, for 2 weeks, gets an interception. You know what I mean? That's the good news the only good news really about this 0-2 team right now. Have been bright spots. Like Nate Hobbs has been balling out. Max Crosby, even though the sacks haven't been there, has been playing really, really well. I mean, Amik Robertson got an interception. I mean, there's been bright spots on this team. Devontae Adams is awesome. We've seen in week 1. He just needs to get thrown the ball. Darren Waller is still really, really awesome. I mean, there are a lot of really good pieces on this team. It's just they got to put it together. They got to put it together.
And that's my whole thing, is that when you typically look at a start like the one they had, you call the team trash, say the team is bad. The team is not bad. The coaching may not be elite just yet, but it's not bad either. But the execution and attention to detail is what is absolutely killing them.
Yeah, it's pretty much the execution. So what? Okay, so What do you think? What do you think the chances are the Raiders can beat the Tennessee Titans?
I 50-50.
50-50. So you're not going all in on a win here.
I've seen incredible losing, and that's what really worries me is this. You see there's losing a game because you got outplayed, outcoached, and then there's just losing a game where it's just like, what in the hell is going on? This, I don't even know what I'm looking at. I'm trying to figure out how this is possible, and it ain't making no damn sense. That's the type of losing they did last week, and that scares me.
Yeah, it hasn't looked good. It hasn't looked good. I mean, it's hard for me to actually, to be honest and say, listen, the Raiders are going to win this week, because they haven't shown. I haven't seen them win. So how can I even tell people they're going to win when I have not seen the Raiders win under Josh McDaniels?
Haven't proven
It's hard.
to me they can do it. Yeah.
I mean, it's once they win, then maybe I can base it off something. Like they're going to win like they did against Tennessee, for example. They got to win first before I can even pick them because they haven't won a game. So, I mean, there's nothing to base anything. I can't pick the Raiders because I can't base it off anything. They have yet to show they can execute the game plan for 4 quarters, not just 2, 4 quarters, and win the football game. So that's where we are right now. Big game, though, coming up. And then, like I said, I mean, I think we went through what the Raiders need to do to win this game. Any final thoughts? What do you think the Raiders, how the Raiders can win the game?
Don't play like bitches. Be out there, 4 quarters of football. Don't turn the football over. Run the football. Run the football. Run the football. Run the football. And if you have to throw the ball, how about the screen game? How about and then maybe because you've run the football so damn much, you run a play action and maybe lead your receivers to the end zone instead of trying to get them to make a play on the football when they shouldn't have to. When it should just drop right in the breadbasket and they walk into the end zone and celebrate. I want to see some celebrations because they don't look happy out there.
Mm-hmm. I want to see the Raiders dominate. That's all I want to see them do. I want to see them dominate, but not for 2 quarters. Remember, football is 4 quarters. I feel like I'm talking to the kids here. Okay, football is 4 quarters. It's not 2 quarters. So when you come into halftime and you're all happy and everything, let me remind everyone here, okay? We still got 2 quarters of football to play.
Yep.
You're going to go back out there, and I don't care what that scoreboard says. It's a whole new game. There's still 2 quarters of football. Just like we just played 2 quarters, guess what? Pretend it didn't happen. Don't look at that scoreboard because there's a whole new game coming. They have a whole new game plan. I mean, this is what every coach, everyone who's ever been a coach or knows. Listen, every coach prepares. They have a first half and a second half. They have it's never the same playbook. It's never the same schematic scheme. It's never the same. It's never from the first half to second half. When you go into the second half of a football game, it's almost like you're playing a new football game. It doesn't matter if you're winning. It doesn't matter if you're losing. It's a whole new game. You have a first half and a second half. That's how coaches coach. So Josh McDaniels, you know how they call it second half adjustments. Well, it's really not adjustments. It's you have a playbook for your second half, just like you have a playbook for your first half, and you make an adjustments based off what happened in the first half. So let's say you're up 20-0. Okay, well, in our playbook, we have all these run plays. We are going to use this 1C, which is, all these run plays, run options, screen passes, basically keeping the ball in the field and not running out of bounds So letting the clock run and run and run and run. So you're now going to use that game plan for when we come out of halftime. But that's all it is. That's what the adjustments are. But each 2 quarters is a brand new game for every team that plays in the National Football League. That's how coaches coach. That's just the way it goes. And the Raiders did an awful job of that against Arizona. They let them crawl right back into it. And, some of it, we can blame coaching, but we also got to blame the Raiders for not executing on the field. Josh McDaniels is not throwing the football. He is not underthrowing guys. He's not going through he's not the quarterback. You have to go through your proper reads. But maybe you got to make the playbook just more simple. Maybe you got to make it more simple for Derek Carr with a 20-0 lead and just tell him, run the ball, screen pass, dink and dunk like John Gruden used to do. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know. That's the only way really to solve this problem. The Raiders can beat the Titans just because I've watched the Titans. I know what they are, and I know what the Raiders have been. And like I said, the Raiders have been a lot more competitive in their games than the Titans have been. And I feel like the Raiders can win this game if they just execute. So at the end of the day, it's going to come down to, can the Raiders execute, and can they execute well without turning the ball over, committing stupid penalties, and getting in the end zone. And on defense, stopping the run, man. Stopping the run, making sure, keeping the pass in front of you. And Ryan Tannehill usually doesn't beat people with his arm. It's just facts. So, that's what the Raiders got to do to win this game.
I couldn't agree more.
All right. So, with that being said, our weekly tradition that we do here on the Raiders Weekly, we are going to pick some games. Now, last week, we only got 6 games right. Phil lost on a Jets game. I was right about that one. And Phil was right about the Saints game, I believe it was. I lost that one. So anyways, what?
You said about famous Jameis?
Yeah. Overrated. Anyways, okay. So Texans at Chicago Bears. Ooh. Bears 2.5 point favorite. Bears 2.5 point favorite. Who you got?
Pass. Neither one of them. Is that a viable option? Can I say neither one of them?
Just we'll say the Bears. Raiders are a 2.5 favorite over Tennessee's Titans. By the way, you think the Raiders can win by 2.5?
Yeah, it's 2.5. They only got to kick a field goal. I know it ain't gonna be 6.
Well, let's see. I don't know because I haven't won a game yet. Neither team has. So yeah, I guess I'll pick the Raiders just because I covered the Raiders.
Yeah.
I have no other reason why to pick the Raiders because they haven't shown me they can win yet. The Chiefs versus the Colts. The Chiefs are 6.5 favorite. I think the Chiefs blow the Colts out. I'm taking the Chiefs.
Or are they at home?
No, they're playing in Indianapolis.
Yeah, I can't even in good conscience say this is going to be the game the Colts get off the schneid. They just got their asses handed to them by the Jaguars.
Matt Ryan just like he's done, bro. Matt Ryan looks done.
He is. They've been picking up done quarterbacks for the last 3-4 years.
I know. It's weird, and that's, by the way, just to transition, just talk about the Raiders again. That's the one thing I always tell Raider fans who didn't want Derek Carr for like the last 3 years. I always say, well, then who do you want? Because you don't want to get into that thing. Well, you know what the Colts are in right now? It's just getting a new quarterback every year and hoping it works. You don't want that. So at least with Derek Carr, you know what you're getting. You know what I mean? What you need. Now Derek Carr this year, this is different. This is a different Derek Carr than I've seen. So, but I'll use last year's Derek Carr example. Last year's Derek Carr, what you need is like a good coaching staff to put them in the right situations to win. Put him in the right system, and I think Derek Carr would be completely fine. I think he'd be great. You know what I mean? We know he's great at comebacks usually. This year, he hasn't shown us that though. But anyways, the Buffalo Bills at the Miami Dolphins. Buffalo Bills are a 5.5 favorite. Who are you taking?
I'm gonna go with the upset here. I'm taking Miami.
Okay, I'm taking Buffalo. Mark it down. Okay. I'm taking Buffalo. Okay. Detroit versus Minnesota. Minnesota at home is a 6.5 favorite.
$6.5 favorite.
Yeah.
I'll take it.
You're taking Minnesota?
I'll take Minnesota.
I will take Detroit. Write it down. I'm taking Detroit.
I wanted to, but that felt like too much of a heart bid.
I know. That's what I'm taking.
I want to see him pull it off. I actually want to see the Lions be good. To be honest with you, I'd like to see
Me too. Me too. I'm doing it with my heart, but I'm taking the Lions. Okay. This is, to me, I don't even know. Okay. Baltimore versus New England. It's in New England. Baltimore's a 3.5 favorite. I think Baltimore's going to kill New England.
What's the temperature? That's still too early for bad weather.
It's like 70 degrees here.
Yeah. Yeah, I got to go with Baltimore too. No, I'll take New England.
Oh, really? Okay. I'm taking Baltimore. Lamar Jackson's so good. He's the most underrated quarterback in football. All right.
Their defense just got shredded.
I don't care. Listen, Lamar Jackson's going to run all over New England. Well, you'll see. Okay. Okay. Just remember, you took New England. I took Baltimore. Bengals versus the Jets. Bengals are a 4.5 favorite. It's in New York, in New Jersey. But
ready for this one? Give them to me. Give them to me.
I'm taking the Jets.
I'm taking the Jets too.
Okay. Okay. So Eagles versus Washington. Eagles are. Me too. Saints versus Carolina.
Ooh.
It's in Carolina. The Saints are a 2.5 point favorite.
Give me Carolina.
I'm taking New Orleans. Okay, I'm taking New Orleans.
Give me Carolina.
Mark it down. You took Carolina. I took Saints. Okay, the next one is Jacksonville versus the Chargers. The Chargers are a 7.5 point favorite in LA.
Give me the Jags.
Really? I'm gonna. I'll take the Chargers. I'll take the Chargers. You remember, you took the Jags.
I remember it now. I've been on the record of stating I think the Jags are going to be a lot better than anybody gave them credit for. I really think you don't understand how bad it was with I'm trying to remember his name right now. Oh, what brain fart. The last coach that just skirted out on them, and they got Doug Peterson Urban Meyer. There you go. And they got Doug Peterson who's put together a championship roster. The talent is there. They got the talent. It's just now, can they continue to put it together?
I just think the Chargers it'll be too much for them. But
I think they'll cover is why I went with it. I think that they'll lose, but I think they'll cover.
That's what I kind of feel like too, but I'm just taking the Chargers. Okay, then we got the Rams versus the Cardinals. Rams 3.5 point favorite. Cardinals are at home.
Give me Arizona.
I'm taking the Rams. I don't think Arizona's not that good. They're not.
Neither are the Rams. Neither are the Rams.
I know they're not, but listen, Arizona got lucky against the Raiders. I think the Raiders just self-destructed, and that's it.
And the Rams
Atlanta. Here's a very interesting one. Atlanta versus Seattle. It's in Seattle. Seattle. It's only a point game, so it's a pick 'em.
Pick 'em.
1.5. So. In Seattle.
Wow. I'll let you go first.
I'm taking Seattle. I think the defense will. I think Mariota will do fine, but the defense ultimately will win them in the game. Even though I want Mariota to win, I just think the defense will be too much.
So Mariota's gonna get the W. I'll take the Falcons.
Okay. Then we got Green Bay at Tampa Bay. Tampa Bay 2.5 favorite. I'm going Tampa.
Taking Tampa. Didn't somebody else get no? Mike Evans isn't playing. Is Godwin back? I'm trying to remember. And then I think there's another lineman who isn't playing as well. You say, give me Green Bay.
Aaron Rodgers, no one to throw to. Don't get fooled after 1 week.
Tom's got nobody to block. Nobody to block. And Green Bay's defense is pretty good.
They will run the ball over and over again and still beat the Packers.
I think they don't have Rojo either. I think it's one of their running backs too. Not he's on the Chiefs. It's somebody.
So what are you taking? You taking Packers or
I'll take Green Bay?
Okay, I'll take Buccaneers, even though I hate them. 49ers versus Broncos. It's in Mile High. It's only a 1.5. So I'm taking 49ers.
I'm taking the Niners too.
Yeah. And then last one, Giants versus the Cowboys. It's in New York. 2.5 favorites are the New York Giants.
Taking the Giants.
Me too. All right. So we only have like 3 games that we pick differently on, but that's the way it goes. All right, everyone. Thank you for watching. We will be back next week, hopefully with a win. That's very important this week.
A lot of screaming.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. The Raiders got to win, okay? Simple as that. So we will see you guys next week on the Raiders Weekly. I am Stephen Michaels. Phil, do your thing.
I am Phil Robb, and we are out of here.
Peace.